Good evening, all of you. Thank you so much for coming tonight to yet another session of Eco Ripples. Tonight, I hope that you all are keeping well and give me a thumbs up if you can hear me and if you can see me clearly. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Your presence, your participation is all that matters, and it keeps me going. And it proves how important these sessions are for all of you, for your general knowledge, and for the love you show for the environment, for our earth, for wildlife, and everything dear to you, which is in nature. So tonight we are going to, as you know, we are going to talk about the interactions that we share with our wild counterparts, and how and what the dynamics are, and what are the trends, and what it all means for all of us. So thank you once again for joining me tonight. So, yeah, the interactions between humans and wildlife. We have been hearing now and again that there's some tiger which has come out of the forest and killed people. There are elephants who are, destroying the crops and destroying the paddy field and the houses of the people who are living in the, near the crop field. So this is what today we are going to talk about. We are going to talk about three different secrets that make the human wildlife conflict what it is today, and why it is rising, and what we can do about it, and how it is relevant actually for all of us, we who live in the cities. All right. But first, let me start by telling you a story of one January cold night in Manas National Park in Assam. I was in the midst of the tiger monitoring exercise with my colleague Trideep. And like every time, we were put up in a thatched hut in the fringe of the Manas Park. And at night, very tired, very exhausted, we uh, sorry, yeah, we just sat there talking about our daily activities, what we found in the tiger camera traps, and just eating our food. And after some time, Trideep finished his food and he stepped outside to wash his plate, which had become a small ritual that we wash our own plates for and we give it back to our landlord who used to serve us food as well. And as we stepped outside, I immersed myself in my own, dreams of various things. And very unhurriedly, I was eating my remaining food very slowly. Also, I was also half listening to the forest, because we were living near the forest fringe. I could hear a lot of night creatures like the owls, the crickets, and the occasional wolf. Sorry, not wolf, the golden jackal or the sorts. And then suddenly, I heard a whisper. I, looked up and saw Trideep gesturing to me. He was not speaking loudly. He was whispering, a very urgent, silent whisper. And he was showing me the back of the hut where I was sitting. Just, adjacent to me was the outside of the hut, where he gestured and showed that there was an elephant. And he said, "Leave the plate now and come out." Okay. And this was all in a whisper. I didn't think, I didn't reason. My body simply obeyed that command. I left the food as it is and I went outside. And together with him and the family of our landlord, we stood at a distance, not very far away, and we heard the munching and the cracking of the tree branches as the elephant kept munching on the fruits which were fallen on the ground. Jackfruit trees it was. We stood there, petrified in the dark, where we could hear the makhna, that is the tuskless elephant, as you can see in the photo. These are bull elephants without a tusk, and they are solitary animals. They keep to themselves, and they travel and live solitary. And that had wandered into our backyard from the forest. I could hear him eating with steady, unhurried munching, utterly indifferent to us, to a group of human beings who were holding our breath feet away. It would have been actually comforting had it been a more like, a more of a distance and daytime, seeing a huge animal cracking the branches and the fruit and eating. But it was far from interesting or entertaining. And then suddenly the munching stopped and the air stopped with it. I think he had heard us, or smelled us, or simply known. The way that animals know things that we human beings have forgotten to pay attention to. Now he was listening to us, deciding in that vast, unhurried mind of his what to do next. I have never felt this silence like that in my life. It was not the absence of sound, but the presence of a decision being made, one that wasn't mine to make. We all stood frozen, and somewhere in that frozen eternity, I understood with some clarity that if he had wanted to, he could have closed that distance in no time. He would have taken just two strides, and everything would have been over even before I registered what had happened. There would have been no story to tell, just a thatched hut, a broken plate of unfinished dinner, and no one left to eat it. But he didn't move towards us. He turned, and just as suddenly as he had arrived, he was gone. His trumpet sounded far away, off in the dark, as the village came alive behind him, chasing him away back towards the forest. That was the closest that I have been ever to a wild animal, wild elephant. Can you imagine? It was just about 6 meters or so away that we were standing close to this animal. But what stayed with me since isn't the fear or the fact that I was frozen, though the fear was very real. It was the realization that came afterwards. The elephant, though wild, did not want to hurt us. He was just a giant looking for some food to eat, for a nighttime snack. He was not looking for any fight. In that yard, in that silence, we were just two different kinds of souls. He was just as frightened of us as we were frightened of him. So this was the story of my closest encounter with the wild animal. And can you imagine the sort of the feel that I could have gone through? Can you imagine yourself in that? Just write yes in your chat box if you can imagine that, or if you can't, just write wow. Give me some reactions, people. Yes, definitely, it was scary. But can you imagine the thrill and the wisdom of this elephant? Thank you. Thank you. So now we move on to what this interaction means, okay, and what it is termed in science. Now, this is a picture of a very, very sad, very, very helpless situation where these elephants are being chased and these firecrackers are being thrown at this calf, and they are scared, running away, and people are going helter-skelter. And this is from a village in Assam where people face wild animals coming out of the forest into the paddy fields very often. So the science or the scientific organizations describe this is an interaction, and it is described as the struggles that emerge when the presence or behavior of the wild animals poses a threat, whether it is actual or perceived, direct or indirect, continuous threat to human interests or needs, leading to disagreements between groups of people and the negative impacts on people or wildlife. And it is called human wildlife conflict. Now, the IUCN is an organization that defines a lot of these wildlife interaction terms and all these things. Its full form is International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Species, and it has said that Um, though very frequent, these conflicts are becoming more and more widespread. And the reason is, can you imagine, or can you just guess what the reasons would be of such close encounters of people and animals? One I can tell you is our agricultural expansion. Any other examples do you think that why these interactions are becoming more and more? Can you guess? Industries, yes. We are losing our forests, absence of food and habitat, yes. That is the result of our population explosion, isn't it? We need more and more space for our growing population. And also climate change. Climate change also is forcing these habitats to become degraded over time, and the heat is also allowing preventing animals to get agitated. Even this even we human beings are feeling very agitated. Our day-to-day activities are getting disturbed because of this rising temperatures. And so these are the different reasons why human wildlife interactions are becoming more and more frequent. Okay, so again, the researchers have said that these conflicts is not only between human and wildlife, but the conflict is between human to human. That means when people are getting impacted because of wildlife coming out and destroying the paddy fields. Suppose the elephants coming out into the paddy fields and destroying, and these people who are suffering take their complaints to the forest department and have heated arguments on how much losses have been incurred by them. This is an example of human-human conflict, right? So, and this is also clubbed together with human-wildlife conflict. So most of the times, the conflict is between human to human, people to people, all right? Now, there's another term called human wildlife coexistence. We coexist with the wildlife. And this means a sustainable, although very dynamic state in which humans and wildlife co-adapt to sharing landscapes, where human interactions with wildlife are effectively governed by the people, by the government, by the agencies, by different resources that are in place, and wildlife populations persist in socially legitimate ways that ensure tolerable risk levels. All right. Now let me come to so coexistence does not mean the absence of conflict or the absence of wildlife. It means that the risk of encountering wildlife is effectively tolerated and managed within acceptable limits. Am I clear? Now let me come to you with some data. The studies have shown that in India, Kerala has been through some of the worst kind of human wildlife conflict situations, where within the last 15 years, 1500, more than 1500 human deaths have been recorded. This is the official records, okay? Many times people do not report deaths or injuries or these kind of sufferings, because often what happens is the people who are living very close to the forest areas, they go inside the forest for some collection of some firewood or some non-timber forest products, and come in contact with the wild animals and lose their life or get injured. So according to law, if you have gone inside the forest and an animal attacks you, law or the forest department is not I mean, does not need to pay you compensation because you have encroached upon the forest. All right. So that's what the law says. Only if the animal, be it tiger, be it elephant, be it any other animal, comes out into the village and cause that damage, only then compensation can be demanded, can be reported. The incident can be reported. So Kerala has seen these many human deaths, of which 1145 deaths were due to snake bites. Last month, not last month, last to last month, we saw that how snake bites happen. And so this is the most crucial, this is the most frequently reported conflict situation. and 276 people had died with encounter with elephants, 63 from encounter with wild pigs, 11 from tigers, and 10 from gaurs. In Chhattisgarh, in last 23 years, 737 human deaths have been recorded, of which only and these recorded the deaths were only in a very few areas, all right, where elephants had always crossed through, and the forest had shrunk in that area. And then Jharkhand also recorded about 157 human casualties in just 3 years. Now, I want to talk to you about the species, about the different animals which are most frequently reported to come in contact with human beings and cause these negative interactions. Among these are snakes. The four species of very venomous, very dangerous snakes are the common cobra, the king cobra, the Russell's viper, and the common crate, as you must have seen in Dr. Krishnadatt's session, which are these dangerous snakes. This is the wild boar or the wild pig. These are peacocks, the national bird of our country, but very causing a lot of menace in crop fields. The sloth bear, very aggressive, very dangerous. They are found in little drier areas of our country. The rhesus macaques, or the monkeys, which are very common in urban areas as well. You can see here that the person here is trying to feed it, which is a very wrong thing to do. I'm going to talk to you about this in some another session. But feeding wild animals very logically does not make sense, because it makes them dependent on human food. All right. And these are wild buffaloes. This is the biggest cow species, wild cow species in our country. It's called gaur. It is found in different very dense forest, semi-evergreen forests of our country. It is found in Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Assam, and many other these kind of places. Okay. This is nilgai, very common in the drier regions, UP, Uttarakhand, and many other, Delhi, all these places, Rajasthan. The lion, this is the wolf of our country, and the crocodiles. Along with them, there are porcupines and Hanuman langurs. These are the leopards, of course, leopards and tigers. These are the 15 to 20 species of animals which are often linked with human wildlife conflict in our cities and urban and rural areas. Now, how do we manage this problem? All right, how do governments, or how do forest departments deal with it? There are different kinds of resources, or ways that we can deal with these interactions. I told you about why these negative interactions are rising, mostly because we are venturing more and more close to their habitat. We are cutting down trees, we are cutting down the forests, and to make our roads and to make our cities closer to each other, the states closer to each other, and these animals have nowhere to go and are coming in contact with human beings every now and then. Now, there are different sort of management techniques. One is the physical and ecological barriers. That means we keep the animals and people physically apart. This can happen with the help of fences, which are electrically charged. I'm sorry. When the animal comes in contact with the barrier, with the solar fence, it gets a shock and it does not venture inside the fence. Then there are trenches. Deep trenches are dug in the ground so that animals can just fall down and injure themselves. And of course, when they are rescued, they avoid coming to the fields because of this barrier. There are nets in Sundarbans. There are nylon nets set up in the islands so that tigers cannot jump across these nets. These are about 6 to 9 feet in height, and nylon does not let the tigers to jump, climb the net, and this has been very effective. Wildlife corridors. These are spaces of forests which connect two bigger chunks of forest, and they are like a pathway. And they are very important for these big migrating animals. And of course, habitat restoration, which can keep the animals inside the forests. There are deterrents which keep, and early warning signals which keep the animals away, like scaring of the animals using sirens, high intensity lights, beehive fences. Elephants are known to really not like, be very disturbed by bees, the humming of the bees. So it has been very effective in many places, especially in Africa. So beehives are kept in the border of the village and the forest, and the elephants don't come near the beehives. Then there is guarding. People form groups of 4 to 5 and guard the entire crop fields, and then chase away the elephants whenever they come inside. Then there is a newest addition in this deterrent or early warning is through artificial intelligence. Here you can see that wireless network is there to detect the presence of elephants nearby, and it detects that it is an elephant. There are these cameras which also take pictures of animals to detect whether on its own, that okay, this elephant or this tiger or this bear is near the vicinity of our home. Let's be aware and let's chase it away, or let's be quiet and just let it pass through. All right. So these are the early warning resources which are available. Then next comes compensation schemes. These are economic or social tools which manage the human side of the conflicts. There are compensation schemes. That means when there is an injury, there is a death, there is a damage of the crop fields, the victim goes and reports it to the forest department, and there is a scheme under which the victim gets some money to compensate, if not, uh, completely take away the loss, but just compensate for his losses. It ranges from few thousand rupees to a few lakh rupees, depending on the severity of the injury or death, or even in cases death. There is insurance schemes in places like Ladakh. The snow leopards depredate or kill many of the people's livestock. All right, and so these livestock has been insured by some insurance company, and when they lose that livestock to the predator or the snow leopard, they get that amount which is insured. Then there are sustainable livelihood programs and community engagements where people who are living in the villages get to decide on which best course of action there is to take to save themselves from this conflict and mitigate the conflicts. And of course, the last, but the most, I think the most drastic step to take is direct translocation of the problem animal, which causes regular or very frequent conflicts, like a leopard or an elephant. It can be trapped scientifically and can be relocated to another place where its population is low. Now, this is not a very frequent step to take. This is the last resort to take. And why it is the last resort? Because this always does not work. Animals are like us, very territorial. They come back, they travel. If they have been translocated to another forest, they travel that long a distance on their own and go again and continue living in the same place where they were translocated from. So this is not a very effective thing. And the last resort is to kill that problem animal. That is the worst that can happen for people and for wildlife. Okay, and you know why it is that way. Now, technology or compensation is now the central thing of central central issue or the central aspect of mitigation. How can we mitigate the conflict, or we can reduce these conflict? So a lot of AI techniques are coming up every year, and a lot of agencies are working towards the artificial intelligence to help people to remain safe and wildlife to remain safe, and to facilitate the movement of this wildlife through the area. But then, as I spoke to you about compensation, we have seen that compensation has not worked to reduce conflicts, all right? But the effective governance, if taken up by the people and the authorities, then that works in the best interests of people and wildlife. Why doesn't compensation work alone? Because once you give the money to this person, the movement of the animal does not stop. All right. Yes, the people cannot retaliate or won't or feels that they have been compensated, so they do not need to retaliate or kill the animals themselves. But the conflict itself has not reduced. Conflict reduces when people do not encounter the animal, and the barriers that I talked to you about work in a very effective manner. All right. And of course, the people are safe because of the early warning signals when they receive it in their phones, through SMS, through emails, or through WhatsApp, that such and such an animal is nearby. Please do not come out of your homes. All right. So these are the different ways in which we can manage negative interactions and keep it to the minimum or negligible. Now, see, people taking part in discussions, constructive discussions, because villagers have gone through this problem from times immemorial, and they know what the behavior of the animals is. All right. So these officers who come, the forest department officers who come and try to learn about the behavior of animals and how they have been doing their agriculture, that's when the solutions come out. So the solutions become participatory, and this is the most constructive way to deal with such problems. Now, physical and so there is a very good success story that I want to share to you about Odisha, where the combined participatory community mapping and traditional ecological knowledge with artificial intelligence camera trap systems to identify exactly where and when they should deploy these early warning technology for elephant conflict, rather than blanketing or covering the entire area. So the resources, because they are few or very limited, they have to be judiciously used in the area where the problem is much high. So that's how the dialogue helps in determining where the intervention needs to be. Okay. Now, there are similar systems which exist in Sri Lanka, where their CCTV is used, camera traps are also deployed, and artificial bee sounds are created, and artificial firecrackers are also played alongside SMS alerts to keep the village authorities on alert and stop elephant encounters with people. Now, of course, there are different sources of study in Africa, Asia, Americas, and Europe. They also found that compensation alone just improves short-term tolerance, but rarely reduces actual conflict inside incidents on its own. So durable coexistence happens only when compensation is embedded in governance systems that also integrate prevention, participatory institutions, and landscape scale planning, where the road needs to be, where the forest needs to be restored. These are landscape level planning. So tolerance and attitudes, that means, are shaped locally and not universally. Each area has its own different unique problems and unique solutions. So a solution which has worked in Africa may or may not work in the village of Assam. Okay. And something which works in our local scale may not work at our national scale as well. That's what it means by these attitudes, and tolerance and coexistence are shaped locally. All right. And we need to study these things very, very carefully, very scientifically. Urban wildlife that I talked to you about, like snakes, wild pigs, the monkeys, this kind of research has been going on in these kind of areas as well, where socio-demographics strongly shape tolerance of urban wildlife. For example, one US-based study found that white residents linked potentially threatening pollinators like bees and bats more than other groups, while Latino residents in the same US neighborhoods showed less support for native wildlife stewardship. So that's why we need to be more and more aware of what our society is all about, and we need to shift the frame of more of coexistence rather than focusing more on conflict. Now, the success story I want to share with you is of this village in Assam, very close to Kaziranga National Park. This person who is sitting is founded an organization with a focus on tackling the recurring human-elephant conflicts in the region and named it Hati Bondhu, means elephant friends, and introduced an innovative approach in the year 2008, where they cultivated a special type of grass called napier grass in the forest fringes, the border of the villages which were fringing with the forest, and also planted fruit trees, which the elephants love. The idea was simple but very effective. By providing food for the elephants in these designated areas, they they reduced the invasion of the elephants into the farmlands. And once the elephants had their fill with all these fruit trees, they never ventured into the village anymore. So over these years, this approach has yielded very positive results. The initiative has brought in much needed relief to local farmers. You can see here, this is the place where all these elephants are, grazing happily, and they don't venture into the forest. And people have reported increase in their agricultural productivity. Okay, so with this, I end this session tonight. I'm sure you have a lot of questions, but we are running out of time. But if you have understood and if you have really burning questions, please ask me, and I will be happy to share this, my answers with you. And I want to really take forward this discussion further than this. And let's take forward this discussion, very relevant, very thought-provoking discussion in our EcoVira group, WhatsApp group. Thank you. So, do you have any questions?
That's just commendable. You all that you have to do is just be sensitive to the animals around and things are sorted. Yeah. That's all I wanted to share. Thank you.
Yeah, simple as it sounds, it is a very nuanced approach actually. When they had started it and when the news got widespread coverage, many scientific organizations questioned their efficacy, because this is not what um, the textbook conservation tells about. All right, but then conservation is not textbook definition. For us, for India, we have a lot of the traditional knowledge where we know the behavior of animals, and we know why the animal is coming out and why it is causing this. And when many villages actually let them feed on the agricultural crops and are ready to bear the brunt of it, even because of the love for these animals. So, of course, the Western science tells us very different things about conservation and about human-wildlife conflict. But we locally, we believe and we take initiatives which suit us. We may succeed, we may not succeed, but these are different nuances that take place. And also, I forgot to tell you that when the wild elephants are chased, there are domestic elephants trained especially. They are also used to chase these wild elephants away in some areas, in many areas of India. They are called kunki elephants. So of course, it's a huge topic, and I am glad that all of you liked this topic, and I can always share different studies with you if you are interested, and I will bid you farewell now. Thank you so much. Wish you a good night. Bye bye. Take care, all of you.